said to me, well, why don't we talk to this guy, Pele? I said, well, who's Pele? I have no idea.
Pele was Pele. There was no better player, more spectacular and more famous player in the history of the game than Pele.
As a boy growing up in the slums of Brazil, he saw his father weep after their country's loss in the 1950 World Cup final. Pele vowed to win one for his father. 8 years later, at age 17, he became the youngest man ever to win a World Cup winner's medal, leading Brazil to victory. The first of a record 3 World Cup championships.
There was only one player in the world who could break through this crust here of, just antipathy, more than just indifference, and that was Pele.
October 1974, he announced his retirement from his lifelong club, Santos.
Clive came to us one day and said, I think there's a chance of getting Pele.
Well, that's not quite true. It was my brother who told Steve Ross that we should sign Pele.
That is the biggest load of nonsense I've heard today. Maybe this week, maybe this year. The idea of signing Pele was either Phil Woosnam's or mine.
The first approach to Pele was done in 1970.
Long before anyone at Warner, including Ahmed and Nesri and Steve Ross and everybody else, had ever heard of soccer.
Steve Ross asked Nesri, who is the greatest player? And Nesri said, the greatest player is Pele.
I got to just tell you that, and I'm going to stop for a minute by saying, you don't have to stop the camera, but this is going to be like Rashomon. Everybody's going to have a different view of everything. You understand that.
Toye and Woosnam had in fact approached Pele about coming to America just 1 month after the Cosmos was formed. Toye even insisted the team's colors be yellow, the same as Brazil.
The name, the Cosmos, the city, New York, my face, my name, had been registered, you might say.
In 1971, Toye could only dream of signing a World Cup legend. By 74, he worked for a dream maker and a risk taker.
People around him would say, you can't get there. And he'd say, I don't want to hear about can't. Who is it? Let's try.
When Steve Ross looked at Pele, he didn't just see the world's greatest soccer player. He saw a global brand. He saw Pele soccer shoes, Pele jerseys, even Pele cologne that Warner's could license to every soccer-playing country in the world. And he also saw something else. He saw television.
He saw a path to what had been promised. Soccer as America's new big league sport.
What's it going to cost? I mean, that's always the first question.
That's very much the American mentality. If we can't create it, we can assume it, because at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Nesri, myself, and Pele, Raphael, and I guess Clive met in the seaside resort with a fellow by the name of Shisto, who was Pele had 32 advisors. We play soccer with Pele on the beach. Can you imagine? That'll be on my headstone. JM, and he played soccer with Pele.
And by then, Real Madrid and Juventus had started sniffing around. And so I had come up with, if you go to Real or Juventus, all you can win is another championship, whereas if you come with us, you can win a country.
He loved the lure of that. He was going to open a new frontier, and that was America, the great challenge of America.
I called that night, I called Steve Ross, and I said, you know what? I think this guy's going to play for us. And he couldn't believe it. You know, he could not believe it.
I was negotiating the agreement with Dustin Hoffman for the film called All the President's Men. And then I got a call to see Steve and Jay in their office. And they said, Norman, we want you to go to Brazil and sign a soccer player by the name of Pele. And I said, okay. I was greeted by a number of paparazzi and other photographers.
People idolized Pele, as they did all over the world, I suspect. But in Brazil, he was clearly a national treasure, and they didn't want to let him go.
Ross was ready to risk $2 million for 3 years of play. Pele wanted $5 million for 2 years.
Quite a difference.
There was no way we were going to spend that kind of money. So we called Jay.
They called me at about 2 in the morning, saying, you know, you've got to change the deal a little. They said, hey, listen, Norman, you know what to do. Do what you have to do. We got to get him. We want him, you know, no matter pretty much what it costs.
And he said, I have one more thing to tell you. I said, what's that, Jay? And he hung up on us.
And then I took the phone off the hook because I knew there'd be 6 other calls.
All right, so basically it was up to us.
And we proposed a 5-part deal, 5 contracts.
3 years for playing, 10 years of worldwide marketing rights, a 14-year PR contract, a music contract. The total package was, we owned him lock, stock, and barrel.
Does anybody ever mention the amount of money we paid Pele?
Not a lot of money.
Pele was paid $4.5 million.
$3 million for 2 years.
$5 million.
Altogether, $2.7 million.
The highest paid player in baseball became the home run king that year. Henry Hank Aaron was making $200,000 a season.
What Warner's came to him with was like the apple in the Garden of Eden. It would have been a very, very strong and strange individual who would turn that down.
Pele okayed the deal. His country did not. Citing his status as a national treasure, the president of Brazil demanded he play 1 more year for his country rather than go to America. Pele turned to his suitors for help. Warner Communications headquarters, 75 Rockefeller Center, New York.
Nelson Rockefeller was the vice president of the United States.
My father worked for Nelson Rockefeller, and they asked my dad if he would ask to maybe put in a good word to the Brazilian government, and wouldn't this be a great thing for both countries to have Pele come here.
Like 3 or 4 days later, Nelson called back and says he has no idea who Pele is. He couldn't care less if he comes and play here or not, but that there is a guy in the cabinet, and he thought that would be a fantastic idea, and his name is Henry Kissinger.
In my dealings with both the Brazilian government, I tried to convince them that having Pele play in the United States was a tremendous asset for Brazil.
Pele got a phone call from the Secretary of State of Brazil, begging him to please sign the contract with the Cosmos for the good of the relationship of Brazil and the United States. Well, when Pele received that call, he said, my God, you guys can do anything, you know, I'm going with you, no matter what.
Steve Ross announced the signing at the legendary 21 Club in Manhattan.